Great.
Pleasure.
Cool. Well, all right. We'll come back from the break now. And, so everyone, please join me in welcoming Greg. Is it Chacon or
Sashan.
Sashan? That was my second guess.
Okay.
Carnes. I've been driving by Carnes. I grew up kind of on the border of Fitchburg and Verona my entire life, and I've never been in there. And I didn't realize how big the building was until I went in there today. And I think this is, I'll call this part of our hometown, homegrown local business series, this is the second one, this and Ellis. Yeah, but I'm excited to hear what you have to say about the history. And everyone, please welcome Greg to our meeting.
Good evening. I learned a long time ago when you're going to give a speech or anything like this, always give things as take-home value. So on this table, there are rulers, there's pens, there are bottle openers for beer and pop and things of this nature, and even suntan lotion. So, please enjoy. I've been at Carnes for 35 years, and 25 years of that, I've been the general manager of the Carnes company. So I get to see a lot of different things from time to time, and during that period of time, we did do a history of Carnes, and we tried to document everything, and we actually put it on our website. So a lot of the stuff was prepared. It was just a matter of trying to find all the photos and bringing them together and so forth. But you guys really got to me here because there's many people here that used to work at Carnes, and there's many people here that even being here 35 years, they got me beat, okay? So I'm learning from this. I'm going to be asking questions, and I'm going to be showing pictures, and I'm going to probably learn from this whole event too and be able to take things back. So I appreciate that. Basically, Carnes Company is part of Carnes Company, Inc. Okay, and I just wanted to put that out there. At one time, Carnes Company was separate, a separate company, and now it's part of Carnes Company, Inc., which is owned by one individual, which owns Venturedine and Carnes Company, Inc., so we're a division of that. Just to give you an idea. Corporate offices are in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. So we're a Wisconsin corporation, basically. And not much really to say here. There's many other companies that are part of this. They're located in Illinois, they're located in Michigan, we have some in California. So they're spread out, there's some in Florida. So it's pretty diverse, and we all build different things. At Climate in California, they build particle counters, okay, to measure dust in the air and things of that nature. In Michigan, in Holland, Michigan, they build thermal environmental test chambers. So if you had something like a circuit board, you wanted to test it at freezing temperature before it gets into an airplane and actually test it, or a jet fighter or a missile. So like they did all the testing for the circuit boards for the cruise missiles and things of that nature. And they're pretty worldwide. So they're the largest of all the companies that are part of this two companies here. And we build all kinds of products. We look at Carnes, we build products for the China Olympics. So when you saw some of the things in the bird cage there, that was our stuff, our energy recovery wheels. NASA, Disney World, there's many different hospitals and universities that have our stuff, military buildings, embassies. We built some large orders for the Ministry of Education for Kuwait a year ago, and last year actually we were building energy recovery products for Camp Humphreys in South Korea, which is a very big project. So we do things nationally, we do things over the borders, and sometimes we get these really big jobs for way out, far away from here. So Carnes Company, started by William Carnes, Bill Carnes. So he started in 1939. He had a job, he was selling chemicals. And he took a leave of absence and started Carnes. He actually lived the American dream, is the way to look at it. Because he had an idea. And his idea was, there's oil, and when you use this oil to lubricate, you get metal filings in it. And he figured out a way to take the metal filings out so that you could reuse the oil and have it last for a longer period of time. It was a dream. He had the motivation to get it started, invested in it in 1939, hired his first person in 1940, okay, and basically started in that side of business, but he had many other different businesses. And then one of those businesses was building heating, ventilating, and air conditioning equipment for not residential buildings, but non-residential buildings. So places like the library, okay? And when I talk about diffusers, registers, and grills, I'm talking about what you see up in your ceiling. Those are our actual diffusers. And anything above the ceilings you can't see that's out there. They have VAV boxes, we built those. And humidifiers that you use in libraries so that your books don't dry out and things of this nature, so you get good preservation. We make humidifiers. And everything we do is for non-residential buildings. So you're talking hospitals and barracks and institutions and schools and so forth. I put down on the second paragraph a company, because it was Titus, which was a big competitor of ours. But at that time, there was this working relationship where we built, we would supply grills to them, and we would buy their diffusers, and then over time we actually started to compete with them, and they started to copy our designs, and we basically broke apart. But this was something that happened a long, long time ago. And what's really interesting is that Titus got bought out by Phillips Industries, and then they got purchased by Tompkins. Tompkins is headquartered in London, and then it got purchased by the Canadian Pension Fund, and just about 2 years ago it got purchased by Johnson Controls. So we're right back into Wisconsin as far as the owners of that company. So we started out in 1939, 1940 we hired our first person, and we were located in Helena on Helena Street in Madison. Okay, small building, right there, you can see the cars are fairly old. And then in about 1951, we moved to Verona. And it's a little unclear exactly when we actually got the building and if some of the other parts of Bill Carnes's other industries, if they may have actually been in there before that time, but we can document in 1951, he moved what we call a Carnes company there. Okay. And it's very interesting because right behind that sign is where my office is today. I've been here for 25 years. So I'm in the oldest part of the building. And the one thing about Carnes that you'll see is when it started with this building, and then it just kind of built back. And that's why people don't really see how big Carnes is. It's 232,000 square feet, okay? So in this area, but we don't see that. We just have this small frontage part, and we have Factory Street that runs down in between and separates our parking lots and some of our storage buildings. But the one thing about Carnes is when we grew, we had a building, and then we had another outbuilding, and then later on another outbuilding, and then we decided to cover all of it. So if you walk through Carnes today, you'll see walls everywhere. It's not just one big open space. And you'll also see ramps, because when they built this building and this building, they weren't the same elevation. So somehow we had to get and connect the two. So that's a sign of just growth over time. Some of the diffusers that we made required metal spinning, and metal spinning to this day is an art. Okay, it's not something that it has been automated, but it's still an art. Okay, to be able to take metal that's cut in a circle and be able to form it to make a cone that allow air to evenly flow and diffuse into a room is one part. It's also used for vents, spinning aluminum for ventilators, rooftop ventilators. And one of our largest competitors is just to the north of us. So Wisconsin was pretty big for metal spinning way back when, and I know that Mrs. Whiting's here. Roger Whiting worked for Carnes for many, many years, and he was really the person that developed a lot of our machinery. And metal spinning was one of the key things that he knew all about in trying to make that machinery. So it was something that when I look around the room, there's a lot of people with a lot of experience, and way back when. When I talk about metal spinning, basically this photo shows it all, because you're taking a piece of metal and you're spinning around about 300 RPM, and you're actually using these little rollers, and you're leveraging yourself and your arms, so you're going to have to be pretty well built, in the upper body strength. and you're moving that roller along a chuck. And it isn't just that easy as I just made it, because you form the metal against that chuck, but if you push too much, the metal will rip and you have to throw it away. And one piece of aluminum that you're seeing like that is probably 80 to 100 bucks. So if you push too much, you have to throw your product away. There's no way to fix it. And what you do is you slowly push it over and you bring some material back. And when I say it's an art, it's because they have to listen to it. If the metal starts making a little bit different tone, it's because it's getting too thin. Or if they push too hard, they might move too much metal too fast. It gets out of balance. You know what happens when something gets out of balance. It starts jumping around and everything starts moving and it rips apart and you lose a piece. So that's why it's an art form. It's something, if you ever get a chance, and once in a while we do open houses, if you can see that actually happening, how it gets spun, it's really something to watch, and it takes a lot of years of experience to be able to do things, especially when they get very large like that. This is my mystery. Every company has a mystery. Did you want to say something on this one?
No.
Yeah, Roger's over there. The thing about this thing is we don't know anything about it. Okay, it's a spinning. All right, and it was so large, you can't buy aluminum. Even today, we can't buy aluminum that's very big, especially something like that, unless we buy a product of an ingot, and then it has to be rolled special for you, and then you have to buy a whole many years supply of it, and then it age hardens, and there's problems with that. It's not something you can locally do. And back then, what they did is they took two pieces of material and they actually welded it and then spun it, okay, so that they can actually make this. And I put at the top, it's the Oak Ridge project in Tennessee. Okay, but people don't maybe know Oak Ridge is the name that was established in 1942. It's the site where they worked on the Manhattan Project, where they developed the first atomic bomb. Atomic bomb was dropped in 1945. We moved into Verona in 1951, so it wasn't anything that was used for that, but we don't know what it was used for. We don't know if it was something for the process, if it was something for the building. We just know it was something very unique, and we had no drawings, really, just basic stuff, and we had to give everything back at the time, so there was really no information other than that photo there, and there's a couple that we know like that, so that's our mystery. Looking at the aerial view, this is 1954, the year I was born. 214,000 square foot, and you can see building after building and all the different buildings that I've been talking to you about, and we just we built off to the left here to the south. We also have this road that you see cutting there that's been all covered up. We have a sound lab at the far end that was built. And then it goes all the way back to our shipping areas where it's right now it's showing cornfields. So we expanded from there, but as we did it, like I said, these buildings were out there and they're all different levels, and so we have all these ramps as you walk through the building and along with all these walls. In 1972, Verona was the largest employer. And in 1972, a lot of things happened prior to that because we couldn't expand really anymore on our site. So in 1965, we built a plant, or not, we bought a plant, about 110,000 square feet at that time. We expanded it after that, but in Sanford, North Carolina. We also rented the Gisha building in Madison, which was, I believe, in the 70s. I know at that time, we only were paying $1 per square foot, and we had a big area. It was pretty good. And then we also had other plants in Madison. We had one behind, which used to be Babco, a couple blocks away. But we had other different areas, different places, and we also did different licensing agreements. Today, this is what Carnes looks like. You can see all the different rooftops. Got a nice picture over here of our former employee showing one prior to even this one, so you can see when they actually were building some of the things. The latest black roof, there's more black roofs today. That's really just a EM material that we use, rather than having a stone ballast on there. So we take the stone off. A lot of times we donate the stone to the city, and then we actually put it in rubber roofing. But that big black area that you see, that portion was built somewhere around 68, 70. And then the shipping area farther down from there was a little bit later. And basically what it looks like from that side, looking over the pond, which is kind of a nice picture. The front, pretty much the same as it is today. We don't have those vents that we used to show off in the front because everybody thought we had some underground bunkers underneath there. So I decided to take that out. As I mentioned, we had Madison, Wisconsin. We had 2 plants. Sanford, North Carolina was another one that got expanded. We still own that plant, but we actually don't build diffusers, registers, and grills there. And we have some license agreements with Canada and Mexico that were actually making product for us for a while. The types of products that we make, there's just a couple of fans. They're like rooftop fans, but we make many different types of fans, from propeller type fans to centrifugal fans, things that are on your roofs, things that can be on your wall, things that are in line in the inside of your ductwork. So there's a number of different types of fans that we manufacture. We make what's called energy recovery products. These are products, if you can look at this wheel, you can see there's a partition in there. So what you do is you blow exhaust air through one side, the wheel turns around, and you bring in your supply air from the other side, and that wheel collects energy. It collects heat and it collects moisture, and you puts it back into your building. We had a patent on that. We started building that in the 1970s. And we still make them today. They're not made the same way. When we first started, we were using like cardboard, and we were using kind of like a roll material, and then later on we started growing our own aluminum. And then the other one over here is just a smaller unit of that, and we also build plates now. Diffusers, when I talk diffusers, I was pointing at the ceiling at some of these, but you can see there's a whole variety of different types that we make. We have a paint line that was put in 1968. It's called electrodeposition paint line. So it takes the product and actually dips it into a 6,000 gallon tank of paint. It's really only 600 gallons of paint, and the rest is water. And then electrically it bonds it to it, and then it takes it up to the oven and dries it. And that was very new at the time, and it's a good way to paint because it totally paints everything, every little corner. If you sprayed something, you wouldn't get that kind of a coating. And most of our diffusers and things get painted that way. We build what's called now drop boxes. So if you walk into Walmart stores, if you walk in Targets, any of these big box stores, you can go to Babies R Us or anything like that. Look up in the ceiling or Menards or anything, and they have this big box. Fireman Fleet would be another example. And this is how they distribute air in those big box stores. We also make product like that, and we built some for a big Polaris plant, so it's used in factories too. That make ATVs. We make louvers and dampers. Less of that now, and more of it that is purchased than before, but we do have a couple others. We make VAV. This is variable air volume systems that are located above a room and in the ceiling. Above the ceiling that you see here, there's a space of maybe 2 feet that we call plenum. And these products sit in there, and they basically supply all of these diffusers that you see. A lot of these that you see right here go into Epic. Okay, so, but we ship these all over the world. And we have a very big project that's going to dwarf Epic that we're working on now. So it's really an exciting product line that maybe 10 years ago we're looking at, do we really want to keep this? And then it just changed. Yeah. We make humidifiers, as I mentioned before. These are electronic. We've been doing this since 1969. We had a lot of patents on that. They have cylinders. We actually have, we were the first company to go with touchscreen digital electronics on there. Very, very exciting product for us that we are really expanding. And now we actually have a new design that just came out in the last 2 days that was finally released. So kind of an exciting thing for us. Put this card, it's a personnel record of a former employee. Hope it's not anybody here. I'm glad I blacked out all this out. But it shows we started in 1951. As a shop worker, and it says transferred to the appliance accessory company. Okay, and I don't know anything about the appliance accessory company, so maybe somebody can help me out. But then a little bit farther down, 8/30/51, transferred to W.R. Carnes Corporation. So this was all happening in Verona, but different things at different times. So that's why we come back and we say 1951 is when Carnes actually moved here.
Greg, is that an hourly rate there?
Yes.
$1.10.
Somebody's going to catch that. $1.10 an hour starting rate.
Do you guys pay more now, or do you?
I knew you were going to ask that question. 72, we were at 430 something. Just to give you an idea, right now, picture positions about 15.49 per hour is what they are up to. Welders are 17.05. Spinners are 19.90. Maintenance mechanics are 21.21. Tool and die is 22.62, which is the highest salary out there. And this is why his husband ran the tool and die department, so she's really okay. Just saying. We're a unionized workforce. Employees' ages run from 19 to 78 years old. It's very interesting. We have people that just work and work and work and work, which we're glad to have because we have all that experience. So it's something that's very nice to see. But it's a big variance in age. We have one employee that has over 54 years of service right now, 4 that are over 40. 15 with over 30 and 10 with over 20. And I have some old pictures, so you're going to have to help me out on some of these. If you see anybody that you want to point out, please do. This one we knew is many of them are foremen.
Don Lanier, the second one, I think is Don Lanier, isn't it?
Dick Laughlin is the first one on the left. Okay, I did not recognize him. I know Dick.
Dick Laughlin?
Yeah.
And the second one, I think, is Don Lanier.
Okay, I didn't.
He used to be in Patron.
What's his name?
Don Lanier.
Don Lanier. I'm gonna write this down.
Cool.
Send it to you.
Frank Berger on the right.
Is he in the log cabins, building log cabins?
Gary Vincent, I believe, is the third one. I can't quite tell by the picture, but he was the first one.
No.
Yeah, I told you I was going to learn something here. I'm glad. This is great.
And that is Frank.
I have more.
Just
Some of them, we did put names that we have, so anybody that gives us names, we'll be able to put those down.
I can't remember what his name was, but he worked in the tool room, he was a handicap.
Name is on there.
Yeah, it's spelled wrong.
Oh, Rose.
Volker spelled wrong.
Bruce, yeah.
Oh, Volker, Volker.
No, that's the wrong.
Different, John Volker's dad worked there.
Volker. Should be Volker.
The name is spelled wrong.
That's not him.
Yeah, I think that is
It's the
John
guy.
Bruce
Okay.
Volker, yeah,
All right.
that's John's dad.
Sometimes when you're looking at these pictures and the names that we have on there, we were not really sure we couldn't read the handwriting, so.
It is.
It's spelled wrong. Maybe there's a person.
This area is in our packaging department. It's not very ergonomically friendly when you look at it because you have the grills that are coming over here and then they're taking cardboard that he's leaning over and wrapping it and then it gets later on wrapped. We'll talk about that. Here's some pictures from the office deck. in this day.
Doug Tracy.
So this is where you,
Should be Don
Mary
Lanier.
Ann, is that spelling wrong?
Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy,
The name's
P-R-E.
spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Ah.
Quite a few.
Dixie Berger.
And, you know, I know Roger White is the first one.
Frank Berger.
Howard Lloyd.
Howard Lloyd.
That was Howard Lloyd on the first one.
Is that one Howard Lloyd here?
Third one.
And the last one is Next, he, I believe was like the engineering manager or something. I'm not sure, but I've seen a lot of patents with his name on it, so when I look back at the time, not really sure. This looks like
Shirley Slatt. I
wrapping.
think the little one is.
Pardon?
Shirley Slatt, I think the little one is.
Okay, so you can have that.
Thought it looked like you. Thought it looked like you.
Oh. Now, Mary Ann,
What's behind that?
we can't go without you telling your story of how you started at Carnes
And the house was there.
and how long.
Well, I wanted to buy a new rug.
You wanted to buy a new rug.
Yeah. I started out as a nailer, worked there for a month. Jordan Anderson was personnel. He knew me from off work, came down and offered me a job at accounts payable for 50 years.
50 years.
50 years.
Finally paid for that rug.
She probably worn out.
That rate.
50 years, I might have.
Lighter, she used to work just a couple of desks from my office, so it's always joyful to see her smiling face every day, so everybody misses her. So it's good. And that's it. Right now, we're celebrating our 77th year. Yeah.
Just curious why you didn't use molds versus spinning the aluminum instead of molding it.
Oh, it's really has to do with cost. You know, you're talking about one of the divisions at one companies that we worked for was like Weir Steel, and they used to use a lot of molds and things. But you got something that's very big with a lot of sand that you're going to have to use, and heating up the aluminum to pour it. Here you're just taking sheet metal that's already thin and just rolling it across something. And you don't have that setup charge every time. Once you got it on there, you just put another piece on and just roll it right up against that wooden mandrel that keeps that shape. So it's really cost-wise. You're talking about something that is probably 60 thousandths of an inch thick or less when it gets stretched like that. So, and the other thing too is you're taking that aluminum. So if you're making something that's 4, 5, 6 feet tall, you're actually starting with a circle that might be 4 feet tall, and you're stretching it. Okay, so you're using even less material as you form it, so it costs you less, is what it is. Good question, though.
How does a person learn to be a spinner?
Time. It's time. You got to try. We have them start on a small product like a round diffuser out of steel, and you're actually spinning in on most of those, so it's not as dangerous, and steel isn't as expensive as aluminum, so it's something that you can start, but it's very little, and you just get that feel back and forth. And after they do it for a while, we move and we advance to the larger spin blades, and we have some spin blades that are over 105, 110 inches in diameter that can spin something. The smaller ones, are doing something maybe 12 inches, like that. So they work, and they have to get comfortable with those machines, because you're talking about something that if you had a little sharp edge on it or something, I mean, when it comes around, they can grab clothing, glove, or whatever. So it's something that you have to really become comfortable with over time. So it's not something. I tried spinning many, many years ago. Yeah, we broke that piece, but it was a small one. But it is something that you get the feel for, and you learn a lot about it. You have to put oil on it too, on the chucks too, because they're made out of wood. They're big pieces of maple that are built up, and then we cut it, custom cut it to what we need to do on a lathe, an engine lathe. And then after you make it, you put linseed oil on it all the time, because if you don't seal it, the humidity gets into it, and the next time you want to make it, your product is bigger. Now it won't fit on something, so you got to try to stabilize that chuck so it doesn't change in size. Yes?
What made Mr. Carnes pick Verona, and how many employees did you start out with, and how many do you have now?
Oh, gee. Can't answer any of those. I'm going to have to lay that out. I don't know why he picked Verona from why he moved to Madison. He lived in Madison.
Okay.
I will say that, like I said, he lived the dream. So when he started in 1939, moved here in 1951, he sold in 1957. Okay, and he got $1 million from a company called Dings Magnetics, and Dings Magnetics makes these, when you see them on TV where they pick up cars with magnets, they would make those magnets. They also made motors that had brakes on them, so if you have an elevator, you want to brake the motor so it doesn't, go down. And then within a year from that, Weir Corporation bought out Dings, okay? And Dings is still part of one of our companies that's out there today. And Dings made brakes for the space shuttle. So
how many employees?
now employees, when I started at one time, we were running 3 shifts. We're only running 1 shift now. When I started, we had a Sanford plant and we had a plant in Madison. We still own the Sanford plant, we don't have a plant in Madison anymore. So it really has lessened. And right now, total, there's probably 80 people at Carnes.
You talking about just the plant or in the office?
No, plant
too?
and office together combined.
Fewer people because
Lots of
technology?
things. Some of it's
or
technology. I mean,
competition?
before we used to build everything, and used to shear cut everything. Now it's done by laser. Last year we put in a fiber optics laser, and it's just like we had a laser before that. The fiber optic laser is like 4 times faster. So when we had the other one, we were running 2 and even almost 3 shifts on that laser when we get busy. Now this laser can cut everything we need in 3 hours. So it's just, so there's technology that helps in that. The economy, as far as building, the country is not building like it used to. And competition, you're right. A lot of the stuff like the fusers and things of this nature today all come from China and Mexico. I think we are the only manufacturer in the United States that still makes some of the fusers. Okay, everything else is China. Ventilators, it's a combination of Mexico, some from China, but there are still U.S. manufacturers on the ventilator side. Energy recovery, it's coming from over in Europe and so forth. So there's a lot more competition today outside of the United States.
What's different between you guys and all the other ones that probably went out of business when it moved overseas? Like, how do you guys, what's your secret, really?
I don't know if it's a secret. I mean,
Good management.
Yeah, it's the general manager,
I
right?
didn't say that, but no, I won't. It's one of the things that we thought saying made in America still helped, and it does help with certain types of jobs. So if you're building a U.S. embassy, it might give you a little heads in getting types of jobs like that. But the more and more, it seems like every year that's going on, it's less and less important. People just, when you're building a building, they're looking at the first cost of the building. So they're looking at whatever they can buy that's the cheapest, and that's what it is. So what we try to do is reinvent ourselves and look at different ways of selling. And like I said, we're working on a big project where we try to custom design our products to fit a certain application. And one of the things that we're working with is a company I can't disclose yet because of non-disclosure agreements, but if the project turns, it's going to change the world. It's an energy efficient product that will save 60% of the energy per their testing, not ours, for a building. And the nice thing about it is even they have in buildings they call LEED certification, which is how energy efficient the building is. And there's different levels. There's silver, there's gold, there's platinum. Well, Google has platinum buildings, and they tested this, and they're the ones that came up with 60% savings over. So it's really interesting and exciting new project that we have engineers from different companies actually working in our test labs and stuff today, tomorrow, this whole week, everything doing it. So it's
is this
exciting.
an invention of yours for
No.
your company?
No.
You're just doing
We're working
this.
with other people. We're using our expertise for the parts that require our expertise, and we're using other people's expertise in other areas. So it's exciting, and it's going to be even more exciting as we go on, and hopefully we'll be the largest employer. Get that, Epic? Yes.
Some of you remember Laureen Johnson?
Yes.
She was from Verona, but she was his secretary in Madison.
Okay.
And I know at the time he was looking for places too. He checked on Deerfield, we might have ended up in Deerfield.
No.
But Laureen Johnson was from Verona, and I don't know, did she continue working when they moved here? I'm not sure of that.
There were a lot of Johnsons, so I don't know. Yeah.
Well, she's gone, so.
Was the original building something else? Is that another?
Yeah, it was something else before we moved in. We didn't build it.
Like a cement block?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And our brother was Mr. Carnes' first secretary, Carnes Manufacturing.
Oh.
And my brother, she had worked for the state as a secretary, and after my brother Alan was when she quit working. And Alan was about 4, and Mr. Carnes went to the post office and said, I need a secretary, because our uncle, Bill Mance, worked, he's going, you can go ask Gladys Mance. And at first she said no. And then he said, okay, she wanted to stay home because close to home.
If you want to be with me.
Yeah, she did. So he said, okay, Alan's gonna start 4-year kindergarten, so what, they go 2 or 3 hours? He said, okay, then you work just those hours when he's in school. Well, then he got, so, but she had every summer off with us kids. Finally, I suppose when I was in high school, he said to her, do you think your kids are old enough now that she would work full time? She retired from there, and we were trying to remember how many years she worked there, but she was his first secretary.
Mary Ann, that's gonna beat your Rudd story.
Do you give tours?
Do we give tours?
Yeah, I want to see it spinning. You said we could
Yeah.
see that spinning, right?
And we have to do it at a time when we don't interrupt. So what we did before in the past, because I know I participated in it, we had an open house, and when we found enough interest, we brought people in and had different groups, and we did it over a weekend, and it was really good, and people were excited. And we brought in people to do spinning, and certain people that work in the 300-ton presses, which were 180-ton at that time. And the paint line, and did different things like that. So the only problem with that is many of our competitors came in at the same time, and we didn't really like that. So we haven't really did it since then, but if we do it, it'll be something we do low-key if we do it again. So we're not going to announce it again. And I can't blame them, because when they did an open house, I went up there and watched this.
Do you want me to edit that out of this tape?
Yeah, edit that out. It's so much better when you talk to people and they tell you, well, I know how they do it. We actually they used to come up a lot, and it was just something that's part of the business. Yeah.
Is the spinning as dangerous as it sounds, and do you have to make it hot to make it bend like
No,
that?
you don't have to make it hot. And is it dangerous? We don't have any accidents in there, so if you count it that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you imagine a maple chuck, pieces of maple glued together, that's standing this high, this thick, and it's very heavy to lift it up to put it onto the spindle, and then something's spinning around, and if a piece of maple block broke away because they're just glued, it could be dangerous. So we have screening and fencing and things of this nature to protect people.
Yeah.
But then when they put their piece of metal on, it's spinning around too. If they broke it, you don't know where it's going to go. So there's things like that, and that's why it takes time and comfort. We know which way direction it's spinning. We know it's going to go towards the wall if something happened or anything like that. So we minimize it, but it's still something that's, like I said, an art. It's not something like they have robotic automated spin lathes now, but you're talking $1.5 million to $2 million each, and they usually only work for certain sizes of units. I'm not talking about something that can build something, 5-6 feet tall, something that's 2 or 3 feet they can do with an automated spin lathe. So we would still, if we did it, we would still have to make the big ones. So.
And follow-up question: do you know how Mr. Carnes, how he cleaned the oil? Did he spin it? Did he filter
we don't
it?
know. We don't know if it was filtered or if he used magnets or what to do it. But it was taking metal filings out. So if it was magnetic, that might be one way. Otherwise, it would have been filters. It could have been spun around, like you said, and used centrifugal force to separate it. We don't know what his design was at the time.
We got to meet Dorothy Troller, whose husband Bob and her ran Secor, who I learned from your website bought the patent for that in like the 50s or 60s. So maybe I'll ask her that.
All right. And then when Bill Carnes sold, he still kept a part of the louver damper business, but he couldn't use the Carnes name, so he took Carnes and spelled it backwards to Sinek, and Sinex. And about a year later, when Weir Corporation bought out Dings, they bought out the louver damper part of it, put it back as going under the Carnes umbrella. So, yeah.
How did you get hooked up with your equipment at Epic? Were they significant in using local businesses, or was it just happened per chance because Cullen and Findorf are local and you're hooked in with them?
No.
Or how did that occur?
We did some of the vents at the very beginning. We mainly did the diffusers at Epic when they first started. So the VAV boxes that I showed there, that came later. And we basically worked really hard to get it. It was done by a competitor. Madison was a local rep, but the product came from Canada. It was called Naylor Industries. And it's really a long story on what happened, but we built a product and we got it in the door, and then Epic is very demanding, which is good, because they really wanted something special that was very low leakage. And we were able to do that and basically beat everybody out with what we're doing. And it's a very time consuming because we caulk everything and just make everything really what they want. And we're working with General Heating right now to actually do the next phase, which is doing more of the work that General Heating does on the job site. We're actually going to do it at Carnes, because what's happening is they would take our product and they would take it to another building somewhere else, and then the people would do everything that they needed to do in addition to our product, and then they would ship it all the way back to Verona. And we're like, wait, we're here, Epic's here, you know, why don't we do all this? And you can take it and we'll stage it and go right to Epic as you need it. So that's something we're working on right now. Epic is building, but right now they're building their parking lots, and parking lots don't use these very rare times. But the buildings will start probably in October-ish is what we're looking at. So then we'll be building all these new style boxes, which is going to be more complete than anything else we ever built for offered to anybody else. So
Great.
And you can still do that with your 80 people that you have?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. We'll probably, between the two projects that I'm talking about, we'll be hiring probably in the fall is what we're looking at. So
When will you hear about this new business that you?
well, non-disclosure agreement, Craig. What can I say? We already know we got the business. We already know we're testing it. We already have the designs, everything like that. It's up to them on when they're going to introduce it. And they're doing some big studies with some of the universities and some of the PhD people that are doing the actual testing and verifying it. So we know that come October, we're going to have a bunch of test units that are going to be due out, and we're doing some testing now. But really, their fiscal year starts in October, so mainly October it's going to start for us, and then really ramp up as we go through in 2017 and so forth. So it's exciting for us. It's something that we're looking at and going, wow, good thing we got that fiber optic laser. I don't know how we would be doing this, so it's good. So.
It's going to revolutionize the world.
That's what the people told us when we first started talking about it, because there's nothing on the market that can save so much energy. And the thing about it is once you put this in and you get this designed into a building, so if somebody wants to do it to save this, there's so many patents out there right now, nobody's going to be able to copy it. I'm sure they'll be creative and come up with something else, but nobody today is doing anything like this, and it's such a dramatic savings. So
Segway, wasn't it Segway? What
Yeah.
do they call those? That was
the
going
scooter,
to revolutionize.
yeah.
So I hope yours is all.
Oh, I hope so. Maybe I'll buy one then.
One more question on the spinning, not
Yes.
to belabor that. Did you say not too many companies do this right now? Because they've gone to the...
Well, they go to automation, like Greenhick has mostly automation. They do a little bit of manual spinning on some of the larger sizes, like I said, because you can't get it that far, but they don't do much. They do some stampings on that instead. So they really got out of a lot of the spinning. The company in Missouri, a competitor of ours, pretty much is doing almost all automated spinning. And there's a couple of companies, there's Spindustries on Lake Geneva, and there's another place in Iowa that does spinnings, but if you tried to buy those parts, it'd be like 4 times what it would cost us to spin them. So there's not a lot of places. We look around because we look for alternatives all the time, but they're just not price competitive. You're just doing it yourself.
How many people do you have spinning?
Not many. Right now, there's there are 3 spinners. And they move around too. So, and we try to get away from it, a lot of it too. Things that we used to spin many years ago, what we do is we take pieces of metal, we cut it on the laser, we put it together, and we seam weld it. Okay, and then we do a smaller spinning for the bottom part, and we use part of the inside as a cover. So we took out a lot of the major parts of that spinning, so there's less chance of having waste and damage. So we do that, and we do some stampings. So there's different things you can do to try to get away from spinning. But the wheel has some spun into it, the venturis have some, and then the hoods have some spinnings on it. So there's still parts of there that get spun. And we do steel and aluminum. It's a big demand, like treatment plants, is stainless steel, but you couldn't spin it unless you heat it, and we haven't got it to that.
Reuben Zoller, he was a
Yeah,
spinner.
yeah.
He was one of the
And then he worked in the lab when I was there all the time. He was in the laboratory doing all the model making and things of this nature, so, yeah. Yeah, doing very, very well. Any other questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Greg. All right.